Coming to you from sunny California and the Great White North. Get ready. We are breaking down the obstacles on the Armchair Ninja Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja Podcast. It is Saturday, June 17th, 2017. My name is Rich, and joining me to cover Team Ninja Warrior is Bijan. How you making out?
This is the third hour we're recording, and like the fourth hour of shows that we've been watching. Oh my god. What a time to be alive, y'all. Like, so many Ninja Warrior-esque shows. But, oh boy, we got a little too much this week.
When it rains, it pours.
But that's just like, oh, poor me. I've got too many good things in my life, right? Yo, we got Team Ninja Warrior, guys. And we're going to do a little Spartan spotlight at the end of this episode. Give our thoughts on Spartan. So this is going to be a fun one, bro. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so please excuse us if we push through a little faster than usual. We're going to do what we can to cover everything, but it may be a little bit more high level. We had the Wildcard week 2, and for this episode, the fifth obstacle, whatever one it is, the one that switches out all the time is the swinging spikes. The penultimate one. Great word. And the 4 teams we had were the Norcal Ninjas, the Towers of Power, Lab Rats, and Karsten's Fast Cats. And I have to say, I am a complete idiot for picking the Lab Rats, forgetting that Chris Wilczewski had injured himself. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, right. Yeah, I don't pick the Lab Rats now. It's too late.
Yeah, but Arnold Hernandez is a really good alternate. I mean, I'm still really high up on that team. It's just they've got some stiff competition, and Karsten's Fast Cats was my pick, and I'm still really high up on that team. I like that team a lot. But we got to give it up for the Towers of Power and the Norcal Ninjas. They came to play this episode. I mean, overall, like these 4 teams really gave it their all, and that's all I could ask for. This was a fun episode.
This was probably the most evenly matched 4 teams we've ever had in either season of Team Ninja Warrior. Like, they all did a really good job. There was no team that really got trounced. Like, everybody came to play. Everyone did a good job. I really have no complaints.
Oh yeah, same here. It was good stuff. Yeah. And woo, the people that really like were compelling for me were the female matchups in this episode. Those were very fun, and every single like run that came when it came to the females, I was really intrigued of how well they do, and just a lot of, as you said, like a lot of close matchups, a lot of close runs. It was really fun. Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, so the first matchup was the Lab Rats versus the Fast Cats. So we had the stand-in for Chris Wilczewski, Arnold Hernandez, versus Kevin Klein from Karsten's Fast Cats, and man, oh man, how many times does somebody have to be really good on these shows before we remember them? Because I forgot how good Kevin Klein was. Man, that dude is fast.
Dude is really fast. I mean, Kevin Klein, I remembered from ANW, but just looking at his size, I wouldn't expect him to be as fast as he is. And the guy is really good. Yeah, I love his whole shtick of the dancing, too. I mean, he's got his own thing coming, and I appreciate. Like, the number one thing about Team Ninja Warrior that we also see is there are some mid-tier ninjas that, well, not necessarily mid-tier, but in terms of production-wise, like, they aren't shown as much on A&W, but they really get to shine on Team Ninja Warrior. I feel like Kevin Klein made a name for himself. Really Karsten made a name for himself. Oh, boy. We'll get into that in a bit. But, yeah, it's a really good opportunity for some ninjas to really shine.
Yeah, I think when you look at all the people on this episode, and Team Ninja Warrior this season and overall, Dan Palizzi and Karsten Williams have seared themselves into my brain now. Like, I won't forget them. Not that I would have forgotten them before, but I kind of elevated them to a new level now from seeing what they can do.
Exactly. It's the same way of, like, College Ninja Warrior, where, like, all, like, no names like that are new. But boy, do I remember Charlie Andrews and Team MIT, right? Same circumstance and situation where they really just excelled way beyond the competition in the field, and Karsten's energy just so magnetic. Oh my God.
But as you said, the female runs were really entertaining, really good matchups this time. We get to see next in this matchup, Michelle Warnky versus Joy Strickland. Michelle was undefeated, and it was a dead heat in the beginning, but Joy ended up falling on the floating tiles after they, like, banged into each other, basically. Michelle ended up stepping on her foot.
Stepped on her.
There was a lot of contact in this episode.
Oh, I love it. We're going to talk about that later, but everything I've been wanting from Team Ninja Warrior happened this episode. I couldn't be more happy. We need more people running into each other, tripping people up. Like I always said, wrap your damn legs around somebody if they're on the poles. Kick them if you need to. Just I'm all for in any like low whatever. I mean, I'm sure you'll get hated, but screw it, man. Gotta have fun. Gotta have competition. Yeah, stepped on the foot. I love it. It definitely played a part in Strickland falling, and that's cool. I'm all for it.
Yep. So that meant that it came down to, that was 1 point each, which meant that Brian versus Karsten was going to decide it. I don't think we didn't have a single tie-breaking run. That's what made this episode good, I think. Mm-hmm. Karsten pulled ahead and won the whole thing pretty easily. There's not much to say.
Poor Brian. Oh.
It's weird because I feel like there's probably going to be very few people complaining about the Ring of Fire in this episode because it didn't make a lot of people fail. But at the same time, it did, because if you tripped up on that, you're done. Like, because they could get through the swinging spikes or at least block out the other person pretty directly, it really decided the whole matchup in a lot of cases.
Fine. At the end of the day, that obstacle is technique. And if you don't hit that technique, then you should be, in that deficit. So I'm all for obstacles like this where it gives you the competitors a chance to really get past the field or past their opponent in this case. I mean, when you look at Karsten Williams run on that Ring of Fire, he always hits it perfectly. He dismounts perfectly, and the way he approaches it with his technique, it works. So if you can figure out that obstacle, you're not going to have any issues. I'm all for it.
Yep. So Karsten ended up winning. He's now 4-0 at that point in Team Ninja Warrior. Like, he's doing really well in what is his rookie season.
Yeah. I mean, just think about that, guys. Wow.
Yeah, that's 4-0 in the anchor runs, right? Because that's the thing to remember. In a lot of these cases, people with good records, they might be running in the 1 point rounds. He is getting 4-0 in those anchor runs against the top ninjas.
The top ninjas, yeah. And excelling. And if you want to know how, just look at his approach to certain obstacles. I mean, the way he does the cargo net is absolutely flawless. He gets through that thing without even basically putting his feet on the net. I mean, he just goes through it. So there's a lot of things about his approach to the chorus on Team Ninja Warrior that just makes him fly through that thing. Beautiful stuff.
Speaking of beautiful stuff, we had David Campbell and the Norcal Ninjas versus the Towers of Power.
Oh man, I thought you were talking about me.
I know David Campbell is like your number one guy.
Love David Campbell. He's awesome. And at least they give him love on this damn show. Don't get me started again on ANW. Triggering.
Well, here's the thing. His results were unquestionable, right? So there's not much they can do. You got to feature the guy that's winning everything.
I mean, yeah. And his team came to play. I mean, I really liked how... It's weird. His team is a team that is good all around, rather than a team where it's very strictly on the team captain. And it definitely worked out for how they were doing in this episode. They had some close calls, but, David Campbell definitely showed why he is still at the top of one of the top ninjas in the entire sport, even at his age.
They might be a well-rounded team, and I know Brian Kresh is good. He's had a long history on the show, but he did not fare so well on Team Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, I love Brian Kresh, and actually I was talking about that because of their alternate, and I really like
yeah.
I really, really like the Papal Ninja, so I think
Yes.
they have a fantastic alternate. And in many ways, and it sucks for me to say this, but probably a better alternate than the original member, I have a feeling Brian Kretsch came in there injured because something wasn't going right with him. Yeah, like even before he fully injured himself is what I mean. With that said, I wish him the best. Brian Kretsch, great guy, one of the OG ninjas as well, and I don't know, he might have just had a rough day. Like we all get him.
Yeah. So Brian was facing Brandon Mears. Brian slipped up on the rope swing. Brandon just easily got it down at that point. He ends up skipping 3 spikes on the dismount. Does a really long dismount.
Boy, did he.
Yeah. But the problem with the whole thing, in my mind, is they went full on bro mode.
Did they?
They did. In the interview,
I kind of just like tuned them out when they talk. I think because I'm so scarred from that bro thing. So they did the bro thing, huh?
They went all brosif, yeah.
I would have died. I don't know why. Please stop doing that. Please. You do not come off well doing that stuff.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, it's one thing when they did it as their own shtick. I get that to an extent. Like, they're trying to sell themselves, and I get that that's what they went with. But Selena Laniel's, like, right there. And she's totally getting blocked out when they do this stuff. It's just showing the two of them talking and broing out. Like, it's not fair to her. I don't like it, even more so when it's supposed to be 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, preach, bro. I don't know what to say to it.
Mini rant. Anyway, speaking of Selena versus Anna.
I miss my bro in there.
What's that?
Nothing. Go ahead.
So that's Selena Laniel for Towers of Power and Anna Shoemaker for the Norcal Ninjas. And I forget how good Anna is. She pulled ahead on the Ring of Fire. They're both really strong.
They're strong, but Anna, oh my God.
Yeah, she's great.
Anna, talk about, I believe she's also rookie this year. And
she is.
Wow, she is talented, like so next level. This competition in many ways could be even tougher for a rookie than American Ninja Warrior, because at least in American Ninja Warrior, you can go at your own pace and test your own muscles. With this, you don't get a chance to figure out an obstacle. You don't get that chance of like taking your time. You have to go all out like the entire time, and you're going to be in a huge technical deficit when you're a rookie going on this show, and she's just like been obliterating the competition, so good on her. Like I cannot be more like just ecstatic about this woman. Yep,
not much to say, except she just totally rocked it, ended up winning. And then we moved on to Dan versus David. So Dan Polizia had never lost, and David has not lost this season because he's been killing it on Team Ninja Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And then David got off the Ring of Fire first and won the matchup. I did not see that. I thought for sure Dan had him.
Yeah, honestly, I thought Dan would come out the victor in this. But once again, David Campbell is showing why you should never, ever overlook him. And and you know me, man. I was very happy David Campbell won that, but it sucks to see. I wish it was closer, but good on David Campbell. That dude is beast moding still.
Yeah, which meant that the Towers of Power lost and had to face the Fast Cats in the elimination round right after that. So we had Kevin versus Dan to start it off, because for some reason, even though Dan just ran the anchor run, he ran first in this run. Like, that made no sense whatsoever.
I mean, yeah, it's tough. I think they're guessing that Dan would be able to beat Kevin, and that would give Brandon Mears a huge opportunity to get like a long break and rest, going up against that huge foundation that is Karsten Williams. I mean, you have to go all out against him. And I guess for them, the big question mark would be the women's run.
Yeah, I guess if they're counting on winning both of those runs, and then if they needed Dan to win, he would have been rested to take on Karsten in the tiebreaker. Yeah, I guess it could kind of work out.
That's a good point, yeah.
But that's not how it worked out, unfortunately. Dan got ahead and did end up beating Kevin. Kevin took a huge dive on the spikes trying to like, hard to blame him. Like, he's seen what happens, right? Whoever gets on those spikes first is pretty much locked in. So he had to go for broke, and unfortunately he did miss the spikes and fell in the water, but it was a good attempt.
Yeah, no complaints.
And that led to Joy versus Selena. So Joy pulled away from Selena, hit the swinging spikes first, And it was interesting because Selena ended up waiting for her. She saw her up in the spikes and struggling. And rather than trying to muscle past her, she actually waited until Joy fell to proceed herself, which I think was a good strategy. It could have backfired, if Joy had made it all the way through and she just basically gave it to her. But I think just looking at where she was at and how she was struggling, it was probably the right idea to wait and then make your attempt at the obstacle.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, she probably knew there's no catching her and, going faster. But, you can take that gamble. And I'm pretty sure there was also that opportunity where even if her opponent would to complete the obstacle, maybe she might not get up the warped wall. So there's many things. I respect the strategy there.
But unfortunately, even though Joy did fall, Selena fell as well. She wasn't able to complete the obstacle, fell towards the end of it, but wasn't quite able to do it. So that meant that it was 1-1 and that the whole thing would be decided now by Karsten versus Brandon. And Karsten is just ridiculously fast. Got ahead and there's just no catching him.
Next level.
33 seconds to complete the whole thing.
Yeah, it was awesome, dude. Absolutely awesome. It's just so fun watching that guy go.
And that led to now the Norcal Ninjas versus Lab Rats. And it turned out that Brian is now injured. Brian Cratch. And so they have to swap in somebody. And it's Sean Bryan, as you mentioned, the Papal Ninja.
Dude, that guy is good.
He's really good.
I was like, oh boy. They just got an upgrade.
Yeah, they kind of did.
Sorry, love you, Cred, but boy.
He did. He struggled on the spikes, but he did make it through and did a great job filling in for them. It was funny that we had the two alternates run against each other, though. Yeah,
it was pretty awesome. And huge respect to Arnold Hernandez. He really held his own on his team. He completed a lot of legs, and I'm glad he got a chance to run.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to complain about how Arnold did. I thought he did great overall, too.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get to see Anna versus Michelle, who's like, ooh, this is going to be good. Right, both undefeated at this point, the rookie versus the veteran. Michelle was ahead in the Ring of Fire. She was the first of the spikes, and she just killed it on the spikes. Oh my God. The level that she's on is amazing. I just can't say enough about her. She's so good. And she ended up winning it.
Yeah,
she
fantastic.
won it before Anna even got off the spikes. So next level.
Love it.
So that meant it was now 1 point each, leading to, again, being decided by that third leg, the anchor run. David versus Brian. That's David Campbell versus Brian Wilczewski. David was ahead coming off the Ring of Fire, and in one of the coolest attempts, it didn't end up working in the end. Well, it kind of did, because he did muscle his way in there. Brian just grabs the spike away from David, just muscles his way in there and forces him to stop his swing, and basically gave himself a shot at beating him up the wall, but he wasn't quite able to do it.
Wasn't that fantastic? Oh my God, I loved everything about that. He's like, nope, stopping your swing right there. And you can just see the annoyance on David's face. He's like, God damn it. And he did the other route. And I really much appreciate that. I understand it's all friendly competition. You don't want going to fisticuffs or anything like that. Nobody needs to kick somebody in the face. But you can, there's some strategy to that. That's what they want to see. That's why there is this middle foundation and pivots in some of the obstacles. And I very much appreciate the fact that he took advantage of that. Very good. And man, I was smiling from ear to ear, man. I loved it.
That's all I could picture too. Is as much as I was enjoying it, I was just picturing the look on your face when that happened. It was like, this is what you've been waiting for this whole time. That look of intensity on Brian's face, give me that. I'm going, you're not getting in my way. I am getting through this obstacle.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'd never be on this show because I'd make a fool of myself. But if I was, I would probably be that jerk that's just taking every low level cheap shot I could get. An obstacle like that, you better be real worried about your mid level, because my legs are flying every which direction. Oops, did I kick you? Sorry about that. Oh, that's your spike? Nope, it's mine now. But, that's another time.
Yeah, so David ended up winning. It was a great matchup. That meant that the Norcal Ninjas would be facing the Fast Cats in the relay showdown. They lined up a little bit odd. Anna versus Joy to start it off, which is pretty typical. But Karsten ended up taking the midpoint of the run.
Wow.
I don't understand why.
I didn't understand that either, because we saw that Karsten can do the latter half of the relay. And, yeah, I don't know. I mean, isn't the dude the champ on the salmon ladder now that we think about it?
He is, too, now that you say that. Oh, God.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know.
Especially with how it
because it's not like Kevin Kline has shown that he sucks at the middle part of the course. He's done well. So, yeah, that's very curious.
Yeah, Anna was off the Ring of Fire first, and then Joy fell on the dismount. And it was like, when she fell, it was like, oh, this is over. Sean.
Yeah, brutal, man.
Sean was up the wall well ahead of Karsten because he had to wait the 10 seconds after the tag. David was on the Globe Graspers as Kevin was racing up the salmon ladder to catch him, and he fell just trying to speed up to get there where he needed to be. So the Norcal Ninjas won.
And I don't even blame Kevin, because when you have to just go all out on that salmon ladder if a guy is so that far away, and you can't focus on technique as much. So I really don't blame Kevin in that situation.
Yep, just rushing to catch up as you need to do, and just little slip up as it would happen. We have to mention, though, did you not find this a little bit strange that when we are about to go to a second relay showdown, that David Campbell decided that, I want to climb the rope?
Oh, I didn't know where you're going with that. Yeah, that's a little strange. Maybe he really wanted to hit that buzzer, show that, he is, for everybody that forgets, a member of a very, very small select club of people that have achieved total victory in Ninja Warrior. And I say Ninja Warrior because he didn't do it on American Ninja Warrior, but he has climbed that rope in that whatever second threshold. So maybe he just wanted to climb that rope again, but probably not the smartest idea if they're going into the final relay again, but whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was a really strange choice. But then we get to wrap up the episode.
It was strange until we find out why. Because guess what, guys? This episode, we've come to find out, was filmed before last week's episode. And the big thing that I was talking about, and I still agree with, is the fact that there's a huge disadvantage for a team that just won and gets a 20-minute to 30-minute period until they have to run again against a team that is fresh. And so basically the Norcal Ninjas against the superhero squad that just ran the course and have probably blown out all their muscles with adrenaline and everything. And I understand they get a little bit of a rest, but that really doesn't do that's not enough. Anybody that's done high level intense workouts or anything competitions know you cannot get that high level, I guess, energy back again.
Yeah, not much you can do. There are a lot of practical reasons why things work out the way they do, but that's a pretty big gap to kind of overcome. The actual lineup for Superhero Squad versus the Norcal Ninjas, we had Rachel Goldstein squaring off versus Anna Shoemaker, Sean Darling Hammond versus Sean Bryan in the middle part of the course, and Jamie Rahn versus David Campbell to wrap it up. So it was looking to be an entertaining race, if nothing else. Anna was the first off the rings and was able to tag first. Sean Bryan kept it going, was able to tag first at the top of the wall. And Jamie got onto the salmon ladder right behind David. He was closing the gap. But David was the first to the rope and was 20 feet up before Jamie even started. And once I saw that, I was like, yeah, this is done. There's no catching him now. Yeah. And Norcal ended up winning.
Yeah. I mean, at least it was somewhat close, but as you said, in that final part of the relay, it's going to be really hard to catch David Campbell, especially when you know the accolades that he's achieved doing the rope climb of all obstacles. I got to give credit to Jamie Rahn for trying, but it was a little too much, and there was a lot going against that team in this situation. With that said, huge props and credit to Norcal Ninjas. I mean, I didn't even have them picked in any matchup they had this entire season, and they've overcome all of their odds, and huge props to them. I'm very happy for them. And I really think having the Papal Ninja with them in the finals is going to make them a much, much stronger team.
Yep. And David Campbell got a little bit of spotlight again. And as he said, it feels good to be David Campbell again.
I love it.
So great job to them. And we'll see them in the finals. We have our 8 teams. So that'll be coming up next week. Very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know my 2 teams that are in the finals. They made it. We got the Real Life Beasts and Team Stormorowski holding down the fort for the champ. And you best get ready, bro, because the champ is here to stay.
I got Iron Grip. I do have one of my 3 teams still in there. We'll see how Daniel Gill's team does.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll congratulate the Norcal Ninjas for winning the entire competition.
We'll see. All right, so let's get into this Spartan, whatever you call it, Spartan Ultimate Team Championship qualifier, whatever they're called.
Spartan Ultimate Team Challenge, bruh. We have the Spartan Spotlight happening.
That bell is good.
Oh, you know that bell was coming. You knew it.
Oh, the bell. All right, so they have really revised this thing. First off, for those that haven't watched it, it is not the same show anymore. It really is so different. You can't even put it on the same. It's just basically a whole different show.
It is a completely different show. I think fans of Spartan Race, like actual Spartan Race, and that are expecting that, are going to despise everything about this show.
Yeah.
But for everybody listening at home, obviously you're a fan of Team Ninja Warrior and American Ninja Warrior. And one thing I'm very happy about is that we're talking about the premiere with the Team Ninja Warrior tagged on, is the fact that this show reminds me a whole lot of Team Ninja Warrior. In many ways, it's just Team Ninja Warrior 2.0 or something. It is very similar, and I think anybody that's a fan of Team Ninja Warrior is really going to like this show.
Almost everybody.
Except for maybe one
person. This Team Ninja Warrior Mud Edition, I don't know what you want to call it. It is, I don't know. I see how the improvements, I don't disagree with the changes they made. I think that a lot of it made sense. The hosts were better. I know that you were a big fan of the hosts.
Yeah, I absolutely love the hosts. They were fantastic. As a matter of fact, I think they're probably the strongest part of the show. You don't realize how important the hosts are to a show until you see really awful hosts, aka UK Ninja Warrior, that god awful abomination. But like last season, the hosts were fine, but they really weren't a presence, in my opinion. In this show, like the hosts are on the ball. They are very charismatic, very funny. The sideline reporter is the greatest sideline reporter of all time. He just exudes energy and excitement. I love that guy so much. I really enjoyed that. And I think they took to heart a lot about the vignettes last season, because in many ways, they just throw like a 10 minutes worth of vignettes right at you from the start with all these stories and everything. But with that, they get all the stories out of the way, and then they get down to the race, and they only have like one small vignette of some competitor during the race. I could do without that, but at least they keep it really short, and they only have one during the race. I really enjoyed that. Before we get into the things like the race itself, though, we're not going to cover the whole race, but what don't you like about this show? Give me that.
Weirdly enough, for someone who doesn't run Spartan, and I'm not overly attached to it as in a way that you would be, I didn't like that it wasn't really Spartan. I was like, well, this isn't Spartan. It's
not at all. It's 1% Spartan, and the only Spartan that's in this show is the damn symbol of the helmet. That's it.
Yeah, like I didn't recognize it. I guess it just was so far from what I was expecting that I had trouble getting into it. It just really wasn't for me. It had this weird intensity to it that I felt was a little too much. I don't know. They were still cutting away during the competition to show a little vignette, maybe not as bad as before, but I just didn't care about any of them. It's possible I'm just kind of burnt out on that kind of stuff, but I really just couldn't get into this at all.
I feel you, man. I mean, I think this show did a much better job at introducing characters or people that you might root for, but there's still that problem of, these are all new names, and I think that's one thing that you have to take to heart in comparison to Team Ninja Warrior. With Team Ninja Warrior, there are always going to be, for every team, somebody that you can recognize and that you know. With this show, everybody's new to you. So you have to have something to care for, and they're grasping at straws with the stories, but some of the stories I found really, really compelling. I really like the dynamic later on in this episode where we had these giant beasts of people, like the Lumberjack team or whatever they were, against a team of basically small people. I believe the average height of the team was 5'2", and there was one member of the team that was legally a small person at 4'10". And I really appreciated that dynamic of the teams. We had much better characters of the athletes. Like, some of them were very charismatic and fun. And I have to say, I really enjoyed the obstacles. The obstacles were very creative on the show and very tough. But once again, if you go into this show expecting Spartan, you're going to have a really tough time. And I think it actually does a disservice to the show to call it Spartan, because there really isn't much Spartan to it. Out of all the obstacles, only 2 are from Spartan races, and there's a third that's from Tough Mudder, which is the... I forgot the name, the wall one, the slip wall. That's from Tough Mudder. The army climb, army crawl, and I'm forgetting it, but there's another obstacle. Those are from Spartan. Everything else isn't. And the show, as Rich, you alluded to, very light on anything Spartan. But as a show itself, I did find it enjoyable. Maybe it's because my standards were pretty low, but I actually find it quite compelling. I just really think they need to, if they're going to go this route, it does a huge disservice to call it Spartan, because nothing about it is Spartan. Overall, I enjoyed it, but there is that addendum that I have to put towards it, because I remember last season I enjoyed cautiously the first episode of Spartan Team Ultimate Challenge, which was kind of a train wreck. So even though I enjoy this first episode, there's a lot of question marks that are still coming. Like, are they going to change the course? Will a lot of this become repetitive? Am I going to care about the teams that they're going to be showing in the upcoming seasons? There's still a lot that to find out, but you can hear, like, I'm just going to give 5-minute reviews of every episode this upcoming season. We're not going to keep it long like tonight, guys. But yeah, stay tuned to hear my thoughts.
Yeah, I will say that they did pick some good teams. They're interesting characters. There's a lot of good things to say about it. It just wasn't personally drawing me in. Maybe I'll change. Maybe it'll be the opposite, like you said. Kind of got drawn into the first episode last year and then lost us. Maybe it'll be the opposite this year. It'll be I'll just take it a couple episodes to get caught up.
Mm-hmm. At the very least, man, those obstacles and those hosts, thumbs up. Major upgrade.
So that is it for this episode. Thank you for listening. You can reach me as @NinjaPodcast on Instagram and Twitter. You can email me at rich@ninjapodcast.com. And Bijan, how can they reach you?
Hit me up at Twitter and Instagram at Bijan151. That is BIJAN 151.
All right. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great week.
I finally get to sleep. Yes! You there, bro?
Yeah, sorry. I actually nodded off. I'm really sorry.
I'm that boring. Gotcha.
No, it's 2:30 in the morning.
No, I know.